Welcome to Parenting Successful Teens, the podcast that cuts through the overwhelm and stress of this phase and offers parents simple, practical, cognitive, science-based strategies for keeping their teens on track. Join Master Coach and real-life mom, Allie Irwin, to talk about real teens, real problems, and the skills it takes to raise successful adults.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I've been thinking about you and hoping that you're well. I'm also been thinking, what can I possibly share that's useful? I have gotten such a variety of really terrible COVID responses that I want to share something that has been personally really I've been using it to guide myself through this quarantine time. And that is the idea that unhappy journeys don't have happy endings. And that's really the idea that our life is mostly made up of journeys. And so it's worth making sure that you like the journey rather than just waiting for some future moment to be happy. And that's what I've been hearing so much are people waiting for stores to open back up, waiting for schools to open back up, waiting to hear about summer internships, waiting to hear policy changes, waiting for the assistance checks to come. And often it's accompanied with this sort of sentiment like, when are we going to get our lives back? As if our life isn't happening right now, as if we're just marking time for some future day when we get to go back. And what I want to offer is that today is happening. We're marking time and waiting for this moment when we're going to get our lives back, as if our life has gone somewhere and we're just waiting for it. As if today somehow doesn't count just because our schedule is different than usual. And what I'm concerned with is that you're missing out on the good time you could be having right now. Because our life is always happening in the current moment, always, COVID or no COVID. And so it's worth, in this quarantine time, finding a way to enjoy it, or maybe if you're struggling, to just enjoy it a little more, to find little pockets of moments that you can enjoy, or to enjoy pieces of it, even amongst all of the hard parts. If you were to give it a numerical number, if you're feeling a -5 right now, I'm not talking about going all the way to a +5, although if you can pull that off, you absolutely should. But finding a way to move it to a -4.5, or to have moments of -3. And the best way to do that is to stay present to what is happening. Resist nothing. Don't resist the, stacks of dirty dishes or the extra laundry or the fact that the house is always weirdly loud again, or the fact that different people that, used to be in school all day now seem to be sleeping till noon. Accepting all of that. When I say accept that, I'm not saying that you allow all of it, that there's no rules at your house. What I'm saying is the time and energy it takes to resist the feelings that all of the circumstances are stirring up is going to end up prolonging them. Okay? For example, my daughter had a spring break service trip scheduled for volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. And service is a big part of who she is. And so she was really disappointed when it was canceled. So when I say allow all of what's happening, resist none of it, I just let her be disappointed. And I helped her feel the very human emotions of being disappointed without trying to cheer her up, or without minimizing that missing this trip was no big deal. Okay, I just let her be disappointed until she wasn't, and then we moved on. She felt her feelings all the way through, and when we're feeling our feelings, there's a sense of movement to them. It's only when we resist them that we get that sensation that we're stuck in them and that we're ruminating on them. So I've definitely done a podcast on feeling your feelings. And so if that process isn't familiar to you, definitely go check it out. because expressing genuine sadness or frustration has a different felt sense in your body than ruminating does. And it's worth even using this COVID time to start to notice when you need to feel a feeling and when you need to move on, getting sharper and developing that sense. Once you're done with that, decide what feels better. Decide what you want to experience in this time, and then look for ways to give it to yourself. Look for evidence that you can have it right now. And this is not some new age mumbo jumbo. It's not reserved for millionaires who can give themselves whatever they want, although probably they can't even do that right now. It's a practical way to live. And I know it's a practical way to live because most of us are already doing it. It's just that we're collecting evidence that we're going to get what we don't want. And a really common example showed up on my Facebook feed this week. It's a friend of a friend of a friend. And she was complaining that her husband is the laid back one, and she ends up being the bad cop all the time and enforcing all the house rules. She's making her COVID time really frustrating by believing that her husband gets away with being the good cop and she's stuck with being the bad cop. And in many ways, having that thought, and she had a whole list of evidence, to support that thought that she's been updating over the days. And because she thinks that way and is noticing instances where that's happening, she's not noticing all the times when likely her husband is supporting a rule in the house or is helping the dishes that he does clear or the time he does change the toilet paper roll. And I'm not saying that the split is 50-50 or that it's fair in any way, but say he's even just contributing 25% of the time. Like she's missing out on that 25% by not developing the habit of noticing when it happens. And for sure, if you believe that your husband never helps and you are always telling the story that he never helps, you're for sure going to get more of "my husband never helps." What if instead of believing that he never helps and that he's the good cop and you're the bad cop, even what if you decided that you were the good cop because you were willing to enforce the rules that kept your kids safe? Like, what if you really believed that your kids were lucky to have you? How would that change things for you? How would it change your experience of this time? What if your belief about your good copness came from you instead of your kids' reaction to you asking them not to eat in their rooms? Like, how cool would that be? How much more fun could you have doing what you're already doing if you believed your willingness to ask them to only eat in the main areas was what made you a good cop? And I think about what the politicians are doing right now, and it doesn't even matter like which politicians you like. Whatever version you like, 50% of the people believe the other version is getting it right. And I think how much they must have developed the skill of just moving forward with what they want to do without seeking the validation. Or maybe even a better example is a dentist. Like, I have so much dental anxiety, and my dentist loves being a dentist so much. And he is not looking to me to enjoy my dental visits. He treats my dental visits like he's giving me a gift because he loves dentistry so much. And what if we stopped pinning our good time on our kids' reactions? Like, what if we could get a little bit of my dentist mojo going when we're doing the things that we're doing? Okay, we get to choose how we feel about this time and what we want to experience in it. And once we develop that habit and stop asking other people to create those feelings in us, we're going to have a lot easier time. So another really common example that I'm getting emails from every company that I've ever given my email address to, Ethan Allen definitely thinks that I'm thinking about furniture way more than I am, and Staples with office supplies and Sephora, they somehow think I need skincare products like twice a day. And so many of the emails that I'm getting from companies trying to sell me something, like they start by saying, we know that everyone is having a hard time right now. And I think, no, you don't know that, because we each get to pick the experience we're having. Even within our set of circumstances, like those circumstances don't determine our good time. And those emails are trying to stress us out so they can sell us office supplies. They're priming our brains to look for examples of having a hard time and then suggesting that if we buy their products, that we will have less of a hard time. And I guarantee you, if you look for evidence of having a hard time, for sure you can find it. But what if we look for evidence of having a good time instead? Okay, if I were going to do that in my own life, I would notice that we're eating more meals together. And my daughter and I are actually cooking these amazing lunches together every day. She's studying, she's working a ton. And so cooking lunch together has ended up being our time together. And in general, I have to say that I'm eating better than I have in years. In general, I'm enjoying having my husband work from home, even though I had to yell at both of them a lot in order to get the house quiet enough to record this podcast. Like, I love that I get little pockets in the day, even just 5 minutes in between meetings where we'll walk to the corner and back, or, we'll be in the kitchen at the same time making coffee. It's super fun. It's a connection that we won't have when we go back to a more normal lifestyle. And I would notice that I'm even getting extra sleep because we're running around less. I literally have more time to sleep. And it's not just me that is finding little pockets to enjoy. My mom is enjoying more activities at her retirement community because she's out less. And this isn't all sunshine. Like, she is on lockdown and she could be having a terrible time. Many people in her community are really struggling with the isolation, but she has found ways to enjoy it right alongside with the hard parts. And that's what we're doing here. That's step one. We're not resisting the hard parts. We're just adding in the pockets of enjoyment so that we can have more of what we want in this time. And on Easter Sunday, she called me because she was so excited. She'd gotten Siri on her iPad to look up what Occam's razor was after hearing one of Governor Cuomo's daily updates over the weekend. And it's so impressive to think that my 89-year-old mother was able to get Siri to work for the very first time because she was streaming this online broadcast. There's so many levels of technological happiness in that story that we can enjoy that pocket. Okay. And I bet you can come up with some pockets of your own, some pockets of happiness. I'd love to hear what they are. I'd love to hear what you want to experience in this time and how you're finding ways to give it to you, to give it to yourself. You can always reach out to me at Allie@AllieIrwin.com and let me know, what are you going to decide to be having during this time? And what can you already celebrate that feels like that? Maybe what you want to decide to have more of in this time is connection. And you could be listening to this and thinking, connection, how am I going to do that? I can't go see my friends and my kids spend all day locked in their rooms. I bet that you know other people that you could connect to. I bet you've got a friend that would love to get a text from you. I bet that you could enjoy the moments when your kid is out of their room. I figured out that lunch is the best time to connect to my daughter. And then I can put all my time and attention on enjoying the moments that I have, taking my focus off what I don't want and taking my focus off some future happiness and putting my focus on the happiness I can find in my day right now. And the good news is if you build this skill now, then you'll have it. No matter what life throws at you, because for sure there are many more curveballs coming. Or even when things are going well, if you have developed this habit, you will get better and better at appreciating your family, even in the good times. All right, I can't wait to hear what you come up with. I'll talk to you next week.